God Emperor Chapter 1, 800 years later. Be careful section pass section LV. The following is a typo. Pinyin shall prevail. Baidu equals shrimp equals hay equals yen equals brother equals guan cho equals condrunk equals letter equals zhang street equals chi yao. I treat you as my love. Why are you killing me? Zhang Ruochen yelled, thinking about the previous flutter, and pressed the bed made of two creak, and suddenly sat up. Realizing that it was only a dream, Zhang Ruochen exhaled a long breath and wiped the sweat on his forehead with his sleeves. Do not. That's not a dream. How could everything happen to him and Princess Qi Yao be a dream? Zhang Ruochen was the only son of the Ming Emperor, who was one of the 9 emperors in Kunlun realm. At the age of 16, he practiced against the sky and attained the great consummation. However, while he was the first person of the younger generation in Kunlun, he died in the hands of his fiancée, Princess Qi Yao. Princess Qi Yao is the daughter of the Qing Emperor, one of the 9 emperors. Emperor Ming and Qing Emperor were the best friends. Zhang Ruochen and Princess Qi Yao married each other on their belly, growing up together and practicing together. A heroic beauty and an exquisite beauty can be called a golden boy and a jade girl, which could have become a good story in the practice world. Unexpectedly, Zhang Ruochen, Princess Qi Yao actually shot at him. After dying in the hands of Princess Qi Yao, when Zhang Ruochen woke up again, he found that he was 800 years later. The former Princess Qi Yao calmed down the rebellion of the 9 emperors, unified the 9 kingdoms, established the first central empire, and became the master of the entire Kunlun kingdom. Queen Yao of Qi Yao. 800 years ago, the 9 emperors who ruled the Kunlun realm completely became the past and disappeared into the long river of history. Please Baidu, thank you. The 9 emperors were dead, and the queen stood. In this era, there is only one emperor, that is, the Empress of Qi Yao, who dominates the world and stands in all directions. Why did she kill me? How could her heart be so hard, or is it because women are so hard? Zhang Ruochen's eyes were sharp, his heart was iron-like, and he was full of doubts. However, no one can help him answer. 800 years have passed, and the sea has long been vicissitudes of life. Everything is right and wrong. Except for the Emperor Qi Yao, who is a peerless emperor, she is still young and immortal. All those old people who have been in the past have turned into lusts and become bones. Even the powerful emperors of the year were all extinct in the world, leaving only glorious stories for future generations to tell. Squeak. A fragile woman in a palace costume pushed in the door from the outside and looked at Zhang Ruochen sitting on the couch, with a concerned look. Dust, have you had a nightmare again? The beautiful woman in front of her was the princess of the king of Yinwu County, and also Zhang Ruochen's mother, Princess Lin. The original owner of this body died of illness on the bed 3 days ago due to his frailty and illness. After Zhang Ruochen was killed by Princess Qi Yao, she woke up again and appeared in this body, bringing the originally sick teenager back to life. Coincidentally, the original owner of this body is also called Zhang Ruochen. When Zhang Ruochen just woke up, she was very repellent to Lin Fei. After all, in the eyes of Zhang Ruochen, Princess Lin was just a stranger. However, after 3 days of contact, Zhang Ruochen gradually found out that Lin Fei really cared about him, and she was so meticulous that she saw Zhang Ruochen awakened by her nightmares, and even came to Zhang Ruochen's room in spite of the cold. In the last life, Zhang Ruochen had never seen his biological mother. It is said that she died when she was born. Unexpectedly, after being killed by Princess Qi Yao, she was reborn in this body, so that he had an extra mother and felt the warmth of motherhood. Maybe she doesn't know yet, her own duster died 3 days ago. If she tells her the truth, she may not be able to withstand the bad news. Zhang Ruochen looked at the beautiful woman in front of her, her eyes softened, and she smiled slightly. My dear, don't worry about me, it's just a dream. Lin Fei's thin body was wearing a date red hooded mink fur, sitting next to Zhang Ruochen's bed, stroking Zhang Ruochen's forehead, and worried. It's been 3 nights, and you are always awakened by nightmares. Every time they are all called Qi Yao. Who is she? Lin Fei naturally could not associate the name Qi Yao with the Empress of the First Central Empire. Moreover, after the Queen Qi Yao unified the Kunlun Kingdom, after the establishment of the First Central Empire, she was known as the Queen Emperor Dade, and no one dared to mention the word Qi Yao at all. Taboo. Zhang Ruochen said, "Nothing, mother, you heard me wrong." Lin Fei sighed and said, "Don't call the word Qi Yao in the future, even in a dream, it's the queen's name. It's disrespectful to call the queen's name. Once you are heard, will be executed." Zhang Ruochen nodded, squeezed his fingers tightly, and said profoundly, "Absolutely not. In the future. In the future, I will be her nightmare." Princess Lin looked at Zhang Ruochen, who was thin and pale, and sighed softly. Although he was born in the county king's house, he was frail and sick since he was 16 years old, and still can only lie in bed all year round. I am afraid that this life can only be like this. Outside, there was a mess of footsteps. "What are you doing here?" "This is Yu Shugong, who gave you the courage to break in at will." A beautiful-looking maid, who wanted to stop the invaded Hakioji, was pushed slightly by Hakioji and fell to 10 more than meters away. Hakioji was a warrior. To reach the late stage of the yellow pole, Shio shot it with one hand, which was enough to make a stone plate weighing 300 pounds 10 feet away, let alone a 100-pound maid. A flick of her finger will flick her out. The maid screamed heavily and fell to the ground, her left arm was broken. The 8th prince wore a gold-wrapped robe with a jade belt around his waist. He was healthy, with long arms and a steady pace. He walked into Yushigong and looked at the maid with a cold eye. A slave also dares to stop the prince's way, really looking for death. Behind the Hakioji, followed by 6 guards wearing lindrical armor, tall, with a tiger-backed waist, are obviously martial monks who are powerful and belong to the palace guards. Lin Fei heard the movement outside and calmed Zhang Ruochen's emotions, so she closed the door and went out. She stared at the Hakioji standing outside, frowned slightly, and said, "His Royal Highness Hakioji, this is Jade Shugong. Even if you are a prince, you can't run away." The 8th Prince Zhang Ji raised his head and stared at Lin Fei, saying, "The queen has orders, Lin Fei's maiden and 9 younger brothers' palace, changed to purple E Pian Dian. In the future, the master of Yu Shu Gong will be the prince's biological mother Xiao Madam." Lin Fei's complexion changed slightly. She had expected this day to come, but she did not expect to come so soon. Princess Lin smiled sadly and said, "Are the queens going to drive our mother and son out of Yushu Palace so soon?" "Okay. Tomorrow, I will move to the side hall with Chenair." Hakioji said, "I'm sorry. My mother said, she wants to be stationed in Yushu Palace tonight. Please ask Lin Fei to move to the side hall now." Lin Fei knew that Zhang Ruochen was frail and ill, and could not stand the frustration. With a bit of pleading tone, he said, "His Highness Prince Hakioji, you also know that your 9 brothers are frail and sick. It is already late, the weather is cold, in case." Hakioji smiled coldly and said politely, "Mrs. Lin, there are so many poor people in this world, but not everyone is worthy of pity. Since Joji is frail and sick, what are you still doing in the world? He's your 9th brother." Lin Fei wanted to say anything more, and suddenly the door behind was pushed open. Zhang Ruochen's body was weak, and he could barely stand by supporting the doorpost with his hand, staring at the Hakioji not far away. His seemingly weak body, like an indomitable will, said, "Don't ask them, we'll move now." "Dust, why are you getting out of bed? The weather outside is cold and you are not ready to go back." Lin Fei hurried forward to help Zhang Ruochen, fearing that he would catch the cold. Zhang Ruochen shook his head stubbornly and said, "Mother-in-law, we don't need to ask anyone, sooner or later, we will come back here again." Lin Fei looked at Zhang Ruochen's firm eyes, and seemed to be infected by his emotions, her tears nodding. Lin Fei and Shen helped Zhang Ruochen step by step out of Yushugong, except for the maid who was pushed out by Hakioji to break his arm. None of the other servants followed them away from Yushigong. Everyone can see that Lin Fei and 9 princes have completely lost their power. It is hard to find a place for them in the county king's palace. They were originally servants of Yushigong, but now they naturally choose to stay in Yushigong, all to please the new master, Hakioji. The Zi side hall is usually a place where the princess who fell out of favor lived. It is very remote, with fallen leaves, and it seems that no one has lived for a long time. Deep in the night, the cold wind blew. Sitting on the cold stone bench, Zhang Ruochen's thin body was wrapped in a coat, but still felt cold. This body is too weak, only by practicing martial arts can we gradually strengthen the body. Otherwise, even if I am the son of the county king, I can only be manipulated by others. Zhang Ruochen thought to himself. 800 years later, Zhang Ruochen doesn't know where he can go now. Since heaven has arranged for him to be born again in this body, whether for revenge on Queen Qi Yao in the future, or for the mother who takes good care of himself, he must be strong. The humiliation and cold treatment suffered today are all because they are too weak to resist, to control their own destiny, and even to occupy the place where they live. If you want to get the respect of others, and if you want to get a warm and comfortable living environment, you must become a warrior and prove your ability. In Kunlun, in order to become a warrior, you must first open the mark of Shenwu. The so-called marks of divine martial arts are the qualifications of martial arts given to human beings by the gods. Those who have not opened the mark of divine martial arts will never cultivate their true energy and cannot become a strongman between heaven and earth. Zhang Ruochen is 16 years old and still has not opened the mark of divine martial arts. After the age of 16, I miss the best age for Xiao Wu. Even if the mark of divine martial arts is turned on, it is impossible to achieve much success. They are also the sons of King Yinwu County. Why can Hakioji be superior? Can Zhang Ruochen and Lin Fei be kicked out of Jade Palace? It is because when Hakioji was 10 years old, he opened the mark of divine martial art, and is now a young warrior in the later period of Huang Jigang. As long as I have the mark of the divine martial arts turned on, I can practice the Jiu Tianming Emperor's Sutra. With the mystery of the Jiu Tianming Emperor's Sutra, even if I have missed the best cultivation age, it is still possible to catch up with other geniuses and become a martial artist. The Jiu Tianming Emperor's Scripture is the supreme treasure book practiced by the Ming Emperor. www.mtlnovel.com. In addition to the Ming Emperor, only Zhang Ruochen knew the complete practice of the Jiu Tianming Emperor's Scripture. Tomorrow is the ceremony of sacrifice. I hope to get the approval of the gods and open the Shenwu seal. Zhang Ruochen clenched his fist, full of desire to open the Shenwu seal. After Lin Fei had cleaned up the room, she came to help Zhang Ruochen. Dust, please rest early. Tomorrow, you will go to the ceremony. My mother, rest assured, I will be able to open the divine seal of God tomorrow. Zhang Ruochen said. Well, my mother believes you. Princess Lin took a deep look at Zhang Ruochen and sighed softly. In fact, she did not give any hope to Zhang Ruochen's opening of the Shenwu mark. After all, Zhang Ruochen was 16 years old. After the age of 16, it was almost impossible to open the mark of Shenwu. However, as a mother, she must encourage her child and give him confidence. Character anti-pass filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry and you can watch it, see the most new % chapters and sections. Easy. Look. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 2, Opening the Mark of Divine Martial Arts. Beware of section over section LV. The following is a typo according to Pinyin. Baidu equals shrimp equals hey equals yen equals brother equals guan equals can equals Zhang equals Wu County is just one of the thousands of counties in the east of Kunlun. The so-called county is actually the first county of the First Central Empire. It must pay taxes to the First Central Empire every year. The monarch of a county is called the King. Zhang Ruochen is now the 9th son of King Yinwu County. Lying flat on the cold, hard wooden bed, Zhang Ruochen is still thinking about the ceremony for tomorrow's ceremony. The original owner of this body didn't even open the divine seal by the age of 16. It must have been abandoned by the gods. What can I do to have a greater chance to open the divine seal? In Kunlun world, if you want to open the mark of divine martial arts, you must get the approval of the gods. It is called Emperor Wuchuan. At the ceremony, a heaven and earth bridge will appear between the realm and the Kunlun realm, connecting the two realms. After enjoying the sacrifice, the gods will give some talented humans the sign of martial arts to help them open the door to cultivation. The more talented people, the sooner they can get the Shenwu mark. When Zhang Ruochen's last life was still in the womb, he opened the mark of divine martial arts, which is a natural wizard. In this life, by the age of 16, none of the marks of divine martial art had been opened, which were basically those who were abandoned by the gods. Even if you participate in the ceremony tomorrow, it is almost impossible to get the Shinwu mark. Please Baidu, thank you. Zhang Ruochen couldn't fall asleep. He sat up from the bed, holding a white spar in the shape of a jujube nucleus with sharp two ends, three-dimensional in the middle, crystal clear and without any impurities. He began to study this white spar. Maybe it can help himself, get the approval of a certain god, and open the mark of martial arts. This white spar was a gift from Ming Emperor during his 16-year-old ritual. Zhang Ruochen didn't know what the white spar was, but just put it on his body. Unexpectedly, 800 years later, it was still on its own body. I will come to 800 years from 800 years ago and maybe it will be related to it. Zhang Ruochen held the white spar tightly, closed his eyes, and his father Ming Emperor appeared in his mind. I wonder if his father is still alive in the world. That night, heavy snow fell on Wangcheng. In the early morning of the next morning, the entire king's city was covered by thick snow, and the vermilion palaces, buildings, and pavilions were all covered with ice-sculpted snow clothes. The winter solstice is the coldest day of the year. The warriors of the entire king's city gathered outside the temples of the emperors and sacrificed to the gods under the leadership of the county king. Outside the temples of the emperors, an ancient altar was piled with huge stones. On the altar, not only tens of thousands of animals, cattle, sheep, pigs, are bound, but also many powerful wild beasts locked with iron chains. Civil and military officials, martial arts monks, princes and concubines, countless teenagers and girls waiting to open the mark of Shinwu, and even some babies still asleep. This is a national ceremony, not just for the king's city, but also in every city, town, and village in Yinwu County. Well, 9 brothers, you are all 16 years old. Even if you participate in the ritual ceremony, you won't be able to get the mark of divine martial arts. Why come to shame? Hakioji Zhangji shook his hands with a cold smile. The 6 princes stood next to the 8 princes, with a cold face, saying, they all say that Longsheng and 9 sons are all different. The father and king are heroes, but they gave birth to you. They are 16 years old, even with the mark of God and martial arts. It didn't open, the royal family's face was lost by you. What are you doing in this world? Why not die? This sentence is overdone, but it is the voice of several princes present. The affection of the emperor's family is the most meager, and this moment is vividly reflected. In the Kunlun realm, there are not many people who can open the Shinwu mark, and there is only 1 of 10 people at most. It can be said that the status of each warrior is extremely high. Of course, for the martial arts power, it is another matter. The martial arts master's blood is strong, and future generations will pass on the strong blood, and the probability of opening the mark of martial arts will be much greater. King Yinwu has a total of 9 sons, 8 of whom have opened the mark of Shinwu. Only Zhang Ruochen, who is 16 years old, has not yet opened the mark of Shinwu, and has become the laughingstock of the royal family. Many people laughed and called him, Tiger Father Dog. There were even some gossips in the DPRK, claiming that Zhang Ruochen was not the biological son of King Yinwu County. Although it was just a rumor, it also made the faces of the royal family dull. Therefore, most of the other princes thought that Zhang Ruochen was the shame of the royal family. He did not regard him as a brother at all, and he wished he had died earlier. In recent years, even the king of Yinwu County has somewhat alienated Zhang Ruochen and Lin Fei. Under the exclusion of other concubines and princes, last night, Zhang Ruochen and Lin Fei were finally driven out of the main hall and forced to move to the side hall. Zhang Ruochen just stood there silently, ignoring the 5 princes and 8 princes. Until there isn't enough strength, any word dispute will only make others take you more seriously. Lin Fei stood with the other princesses and saw the crowded Zhang Ruochen with heartache, but there was nothing they could do. Sacrificial ceremony, start. The master of Yinwu County stood above the altar, holding a roll of congratulations, and recited it. Then, above the altar, a large snail, a large horn was blown, and a maiden in a colorful dress rang the 16 instruments, including the chime, chime, chime and bell. Then, they slaughtered the animals and sacrificed to heaven with blood. Wow! The thick flesh turned into a stout beam of light, straight into the sky, shattered the clouds, and rushed into the vast sky. Suddenly, a starlight flew down from the sky, fell to the brows of a 6-year-old boy, merged with the body of the little boy, and turned into a crimson Shenwu mark. The crowd exclaimed, Xue Dutong's younger son, at the age of 6, opened the mark of divine martial arts. The mark of the red flame divine martial art belongs to the Sipin divine mark. It is too powerful, and the future is boundless. The mark of the divine martial arts is also divided into grades, from 1 grade to 9 grades. Ipin Shenwu mark is the weakest and Jiupin Shenwu mark is the strongest. Everyone stared at the 6-year-old boy with envious eyes. At the age of 6, the mark of the 4th grade in martial arts was opened, which is called the Proud of the Sky, and the future achievements will definitely not be low. Among the many generals in Yinwu County, a burly man patted his chest, laughed loudly, and was excited, okay. It is indeed my son Liang Xue. It is a feast in Tongtong tonight, everyone must come to appreciate it. Ha! Wow! Above the sky, countless starlights flew down again, fell into the eyebrows of adolescents and young girls, and turned into immortal marks. Among them, there are the most imprints of the 1st grade of Shenwu, and there are very few teenagers who can open the 2nd grade of Shenwu. The most powerful person is still the son of Xue Dutong, and the 4th grade of Shenwu is beyond everyone's sight. After all, the number of people who opened the mark of Shenwu was only a few, probably only 1/10 of the total number. Everyone was inexplicably excited, and finally received the approval of the gods, which opened the door to martial arts. Those teenagers and girls who did not open the mark of Shenwu were all very frustrated, and some people even cried and lost their voices. Seeing the sacrifice was about to end, but Zhang Ruochen still did not open the mark of Shenwu. At the age of 16, he did not open the mark of Shenwu. It is almost impossible to open the mark of Shenwu. In the future, he can only be a mediocre ordinary person. Everyone ignored him, just like a dust in the corner, not paying attention at all. At first, Lin Fei also held a hint of fantasy, hoping that her child would create a miracle and open the mark of magical martial arts. Even if you can't become a martial artist, at least you can strengthen your body, and you won't be tortured by the disease. As the sacrifice came to an end, Lin Fei's hope turned into disappointment and even despair again. Just when Zhang Ruochen thought that he could not open the mark of Shenwu, the white spar he was holding tightly in his hand was slightly brightened. The best moment before the end of the sacrifice, a starlight fell from the sky and fell to the heart of Zhang Ruochen's eyebrows, turning into a white circular mark of gods. Wow! A burning sensation came from the heart of the eyebrow, and then spread all over the body. It's on! Zhang Ruochen was so excited that he finally opened the mark of Shenwu. As long as the Siwu mark is turned on, even if it is a Siwu mark, he doesn't care. At first no one paid attention to Zhang Ruochen, but at the moment Zhang Ruochen opened the mark of Shenwu, it attracted everyone's attention. That's not the 9 princes. He's all 16 years old, and he's frail and ill, and he can even open the mark of the gods and martial arts. Many people stared at Zhang Ruochen with an unbelievable look, which was incredible. The 6 princes and 8 princes standing next to Zhang Ruochen also widened their eyes and showed a surprised look. How can that be? Lin Fei looked at Zhang Ruochen www.ntlnovel.com after seeing the imprint of Zhang Ruochen's brows, she shed tears of joy and rushed to Zhang Ruochen's face, hugging Zhang Ruochen's body tightly. Dust, you finally do it. Do it. An old next to the king of Yinwu County, came to Zhang Ruochen, and smiled and said, Congratulations to Mrs. Lin, congratulations to His Highness 9 princes on the opening of the divine seal. The queen asked the old slave to invite His Highness 9 princes to pass by. The grade of the mark of divine martial arts opened by His Highness 9 princes. Queen. The smile on Lin Fei's face froze immediately, and Zhang Ruochen was behind him with some tension. My dear, let's meet the queen. Zhang Ruochen noticed the subtle changes in Princess Lin, and secretly said in her heart that it seemed that the queen lady was not a good person, so she had to be more careful. Seeking collection. Ask for tickets. I hope you will be more grateful for this book. Character anti-pass filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry and you can watch it, see the most new % chapters and sections. Easy. Look. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 3, Huang Jigging. Beware of section over section LV. The following is a typo. Pinyin prevails. Baidu equals shrimp equals hey equals yen equals brother equals guan equals candrunk equals letter equals Zhang equals queen maiden is sitting in the camp below the altar, wearing a golden phoenix crown and wearing a colorful phoenix robe, looks like 28/9, beautiful and dignified, not as old as Zhang Ruochen imagined, but also gives a noble temperament. She said, the king is rehearsing and practicing in the hall of life and death. This time, the sacrificial ceremony was presided over by the present. Master, did you detect the grade of the and martial seal opened by His Highness 9 Princes? The National Division of Yinwu County, holding an iron book in his hand, shook it. The complete book of divine seals records the patterns of all the martial arts marks that have appeared in Kunlun history from the first martial arts mark to the 9 martial arts mark. The seals are all recorded in the book. But none of them match the seal of His Highness 9 Princes. The Queen Mother glanced at Zhang Ruochen with a bit of indifference. Since no result can be detected, it is estimated that there is no grade of martial arts. In other counties, there have also been some warriors who opened the mark of unknown martial arts. The ultimate achievements are very limited. The 8th prince also stood in the camp and immediately said, the Queen Mother is right, after all, the 9th brother is 16 years old and has missed the best training age. For him, even if the Sipin Shin will mark and Wupin Si will mark are turned on, and nothing will happen. The Queen Mother nodded and agreed with Hakioji. Since the 9th prince opened only the immortal mark of no grade and was already 16 years old, in order to save the royal family's training resources as much as possible, he only gave the 9th prince a spinal washing solution. Come on. Most // quick / more / / on / new / on / Lin Fei's face changed. She said, the Queen Maiden, the first year of opening the mark of Shenwu, is the most important year. After the 7th prince opened the mark of Shenwu, a total of 12 washes were obtained, which can be washed every month. Myeloid once. Dust, why can I only get one medicinal solution? The Queen said coldly, when the 7 princes were 3 years old, they opened the seal of Qipin Shenwu. How can the 9 princes compare with the 7 princes? Hakioji said charmingly, the 7th brother, but the Queen's maiden sister-in-law, inherited the powerful blood of the Queen's maiden, and possessed the Qipin martial arts mark. Who can compare with the 7th brother in the entire Yinwu County? In the future, can Yinwu County be more prosperous and stronger, all tied to one brother? He also said, the prince said something that he didn't like to listen to. One of his fingers was 10 times and 100 times more important than Zhou's life. There is no comparability at all. Lin Fei clenched her lips and teeth, and continued to fight for Zhang Ruochen. But when the 8 princes opened the mark of Shenwu, they also got 4 spinal fluids. The Queen's queen was very displeased, the higher the talent, the more resources you get. The 9 princes have the lowest talent, and the less they get. But, Lin Fei said. The Queen Maiden was even more impatient, and Shen said, I have made a decision since then, Lin Fei, if you dare to say one more thing, believe it or not, it will make you drag you out again. Again. Zhang Ruochen suddenly looked up when she heard the words of the Queen Maiden. Did the Queen Mother-in-law ever blame her mother-in-law? After hearing the words of the Queen Mother, Princess Fei trembled slightly, as if recalling something terrible, she closed her mouth immediately. At this moment, someone has sent a pill washing liquid to Zhang Ruochen's hands. Zhang Ruochen took the washing fluid, walked to Lin Fei's side, turned around and stared deeply at the Queen Mother sitting above, saying, Mother, we'll go back. Ha! Lin Fei pursed her lips gently and nodded bitterly. The Queen Maiden stared at the back of Zhang Ruochen and Lin Fei, saying, after 3 months, the royal family's end-of-year assessment, the 9 princes must work hard and strive to complete the washing of the pulse within 3 months. Become a true warrior. At that time, the king will also go out, I hope you can surprise him. Then the sound of Hakioji's disdain sounded again, and he laughed. Even if there are 3 spinal washing fluids, it is impossible to complete the spinal washing pulse within 3 months. It took me half a year to do it. With the qualifications of Jyoti, it is estimated it will take more than a year to have a chance. Hey! Zhang Ruochen didn't turn his head, tightened his fists, and his mind was very firm. Just wait and see, I will never let you down. Back at the Zi side hall, Zhang Ruochen couldn't wait to close the door and immediately cultivate it. Although I do not know what divine seal is opened, but now that I have the divine seal, I can definitely cultivate my true energy. First, the first step is to create an air pool under the mark of Shenwu. The so-called Qi pool is a pool that holds true Qi. The bigger the pool, the more air there is. With the improvement of repair, the air pool will gradually expand. Generally speaking, to open up the air pool, it must be carried out under the guidance of elders. For Zhang Ruochen, who has rich cultivation experience, it is not difficult to open an air pool. It only took him half an hour to successfully develop an air pool. For other monks, it will take at least a few days to try before the air pool can be opened up. Zhang Ruochen only spent half an hour. This body is really very weak. It just opened an air tank the size of an egg, and it can hold too little real air. It is not enough to open up an air pool. The gas pool is just a place to store the true gas. In order for Jinqi to work throughout the body, it is necessary to develop its own cultivation meridians. Only by completing this step can you have vigor and become a true warrior. The next step is to wash the pulp. Zhang Ruochen took out the small jade bottle containing the pulp washing liquid, and sniffed gently with his nose. After confirming that it was really the pulp washing liquid, he poured the whole bottle of washing liquid directly into his mouth. After the pulp washing fluid entered the throat, it was very cold, but just in the past, the coldness disappeared and replaced by a hot high temperature. It's like a flame burning in the body. A trace of flame penetrated into every meridian of Zhang Ruochen's body, and then merged into the meridian. This is the time. Jiu Tian Ming Di Jing, the first floor, Huang Huang Tian of the Emperor. Cultivation of different exercises will naturally lead to different meridian lines. The deeper the exercises, the more meridian lines, the more complicated, the more amazing. There are as many as 36 running meridians in the Jiutianming Di Jing. Of course, Zhang Ruochen doesn't need to open up all the meridians at present. He only needs to open up the first meridian, even if he has finished washing the pulp. They said that when I spent 3 months, I could not complete the pulse washing, but I will use actual actions to prove that tonight I can complete the pulse washing and pulse, and become a true warrior. Zhang Ruochen relied on the cultivation experience of the previous life, used the only ray of true energy, and rushed the pulse with all his strength, and soon opened most of the first meridian. A severe pain came from inside the body, just like the meridians were torn, making Zhang Ruochen tremble a bit. If other people encounter such a situation, they must have failed. However, Zhang Ruochen clenched his teeth, insisted on with strong willpower, and allowed the sweat to fall to the ground without giving up. It's just, the last paragraph. Hope is right in front of you, we must be successful. Must succeed. Zhang Ruochen's anger suddenly hit all the few qi, boom. A loud noise came from the body, making a deafening sound, and almost shook Zhang Ruochen to pass out. After the pain disappeared, only a cold air flow felt in the meridians, the pain gradually disappeared, and an unprecedented comfort spread throughout the body. Ha! Success! Successfully completed the marrow washing pulse and become a true warrior. Hakioji completed this step and took 4 medulla washes, which took half a year. Zhang Ruochen only used it for 1 night, and he only took 1 portion of the pulp washing liquid. Completing the marrow washing and pulse washing is the cultivation of the early stage of the yellow pole realm. Martial arts practice is divided into the 4 realms of yellow, xian, earth, and heaven, namely Huangji, Xianji, Jiji, and Tianji. Each big realm is divided into 7 small realms, which are divided into early, middle, late, small pole, middle pole, large pole, and great consummation. 4 big and 7 small. Zhang Ruochen is now the early cultivation of Huang Jiging. The early stage, middle stage, and late stage of Huang Jiging opened up the meridians and the aura tank, making the physical strength more and more powerful. Each time you upgrade a small realm, the power will increase greatly. The Hakyoji is a later practice of Huang Jiging. He can lift a 300-pound stone plate with his bare hands and throw the stone plate 10 feet away. The power of his punch was comparable to that of a bull. Most of the martial arts in the later period of Huangji realm can cultivate a power of a cow. Above the late stage, there are 4 realms of small pole position, middle pole position, large pole position, and great consummation. After breaking through the late stage of the yellow polar realm, you can reach the yellow polar minimal position, and immediately have the power of the 4 bulls, which has quadrupled its power. Therefore, the warriors in the small extreme position of Huang Jiging against the warriors in the later stage of Huang Jiging are almost like adults against children. There are no problems at all. Going further up, the middle pole position, big pole position, and great consummation are even more horrible and possess the power that ordinary people cannot imagine. Those realms are still far away from Zhang Ruochen. Now do and even think about it. Steady cultivation is the key. Step by step www.mtlnovel.com can go further. The 8 princes practiced for 8 years before reaching the end of the yellow pole, which can only be regarded as ordinary talent. It took half a year for Hakyoji to complete the marrow washing. It only took me 1 night. It took 8 years for Hakyoji to reach the end of the yellow pole. I had to complete this goal within 3 months. For me, it is not without opportunities. 3 months later, the royal family's end-of-year assessments will be conducted. All the young warriors of the royal family, including the princes, county masters, relatives and relatives of the royal family, will all participate in the assessment to test the achievements of the practice for 1 year. In the royal family, if you want to gain status, to be respected, and to get more cultivation resources, you must prove your strength. 3 months. Within 3 months, you must cultivate to the late stage of Huang Jiging, not only for yourself, but also for the mother who cares and loves you, and strive for her dignity. Character anti-pass filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the fairy and you can watch it, see the most. New % chapters and sections. Easy. Look. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 4, Secret of Time and Space. Beware of section passing section LV. The following is a typo. Pinyin shall prevail. Baidu equals shrimp equals hay equals yen equals brother equals guan equals candrunk equals zhang equals. At the beginning of the yellow polar realm, Qi Pond, it has grown dozens of times, as big as a basketball. The true Qi in the air pool is still very scarce, only a ball as large as an egg, less than 1/10 of the capacity of the air pool. Only by filling up the true Qi in the gas pool can we impact the next realm, the middle stage of Huang Ji. Zhang Ruochen sat down with his knees closed his eyes, and opened the eyebrow mark of God and Wushu. He began to practice the first layer of the Emperor Huang Jingtian in the 9 heavens Ming Emperor. Really Qi, flowing out of the air pool, flowing along the whole meridian. With the movement of the vitality in the body, Zhang Ruochen's body seemed to turn into a vortex and began to slowly absorb the spiritual energy between heaven and earth. Heaven and earth aura, flowing into the mark of the martial arts. The mark of the divine martial art transforms the heaven and earth aura into true aura and stores it in the air pool. Jinqi flows out of the air pool, and runs along the meridians to move the whole body. Jinqi runs around in the body. It is a Sunday. After 9 full days of operation, when Zhang Ruochen opened his eyes again, he found that the amount of qi in his body had doubled, reaching 1/10 of the capacity of the gas pool. If other warriors knew that they could double the amount of qi in their body in such a short period of time, they would be ecstatic. However, Zhang Ruochen was a little dissatisfied. After 9 days of cultivation, I just added such a bit of infuriation, which is too slow. If only I could get a spirit crystal. I can still improve my speed times. Manually enter the letter URL Ya. Watch the new chapter. You should know that Zhang Ruochen is practicing the Jiu Tianming Emperor's Sutra, and the rate of absorbing the true energy is faster than those who practice lower-level exercises. The speed of practice now naturally makes him very dissatisfied. If you can have a psionic crystal, you can greatly improve the speed of repair. Reiki, gathered from Reiki into spar. You can dig natural spirit crystal in the underground veins, or you can cut and kill the beast and dig the acquired spirit crystal in the beast. The value of a Ling Jing is generally equivalent to the value of 1,000 silver coins, and only the aristocratic kings and nobles, or the genius cultivated by the big family, have the opportunity to get a Ling Jing. 1,000 silver coins is definitely a huge number for Zhang Ruochen and Lin Fei, and it is impossible to afford it at all. Ling Jing. When Zhang Ruochen's heart moved, he immediately took out the white date-shaped spar that had been worn on his body and held it in the palm of his hand. Is this a phantom? The vitality of his body worked, and the immortal mark of his brows immediately emerged, turning into a coin-shaped circular halo. A white chi was shot from the center of the eyebrow and hit the white spar. Wow! On the surface of the white spar, 4 ancient words emerge. Too weird. Zhang Ruochen has never seen such a text, but recognized the 4 texts at a glance. Spar of time and space. You know, in the last life, Zhang Ruochen also injected true qi into the white spar, but never inspired the words on the surface of the spar. In the last life, my cultivation was hundreds of times more powerful than it is now, and there was no text on the surface of the white spar. In this life, the original cultivation of the yellow polar realm caused the white spar to change. The explanation is fundamental. It is not the cause of the strength of qi, but the attribute of qi. For example, a warrior with the mark of the flames of martial arts has the best effect using a psionic crystal of the fire attribute, which can achieve 3 times the speed of cultivation. With ordinary spirit crystals, you can only achieve twice the speed of cultivation. 90% of the phantoms in nature have no attributes. Just like 90% of martial arts, they can only inspire the mark of martial arts without attributes. Does the mark of divine martial arts that I have also possessed a certain attribute that coincides with this spatio-temporal spar? Wait a minute, what is the spatio-temporal spar? Zhang Ruochen was the son of the Emperor Ming. He has a wide range of knowledge. He has heard of Ling Jing, Red Flame Ling Xian, Xianbing Ling Jing, Thunderbolt Ling Jing, and Evil Blood Ling Jing, but he has never heard of time and space psychic crystal. Because time and space are not controlled by human beings at all. Even gods cannot shake time and space. They must follow the rules of time and space. Just when Zhang Ruochen was still very puzzled, a halo appeared on the surface of the spar, which turned into a vortex. The vortex keeps growing and encases Zhang Ruochen's body. Zhang Ruochen only felt a twist of the sky. The next moment, he came to a closed space and fell heavily to the hard ground. Fortunately, he completed the spinal cord washing and pulse washing, and reached the early stage of Huang jigging, and his body strengthened a lot. If he used his fragile body to fall, he would probably have died. Zhang Ruochen got up from the ground, moved his painful muscles, and began to observe the surrounding space. This space is completely enclosed, with no windows or doors visible. The height of the space is about 10 meters, and the length and width are also about 10 meters. How can this be? Where did I come in from? Where is it here? Alas! There is a stone platform there. There is only one stone platform in the entire space. Above the stone platform was a rolled picture, a silver iron book. Apart from that, there is nothing else. Zhang Ruochen took the lead to get the painting, but the painting was extremely heavy, as if connected with Shirtai. No matter how much Zhang Ruochen used the power, the scrolls remained motionless. Since he couldn't pick up the picture scroll and couldn't open it, Zhang Ruochen could only give up temporarily, and then stared at the thin silver iron book. On the surface of the silver iron book, the words, Secret of Time and Space. This time, Zhang Ruochen was ready to use Jinqi to move the whole body, mobilize the power of the whole body, and turn the first page of, The Secret of Time and Space, to open. So, easy. The Secret of Time and Space is easy to read and effortless. Zhang Ruochen shook his head suddenly and stopped running. He took the Secret of Time and Space, held it in his hand, and read it carefully. On the first page of The Secret of Time and Space, what is recorded on it is not a cultivation secret, but a transcript of the master of the last generation of the spar of time and space, the sacred monk Sumi. After reading the transcripts of Su Misheng monk, Zhang Ruochen finally understood everything. It turned out that the seal of time and space that I opened turned out to be the mark of space and time. According to the monk Sumi, none of the hundreds of millions of people could open the space and time mark. From ancient times to now, there are only 2 people, and I count as 3. The sacred Lord Sumi is the second person to open the mark of time and space, but according to the time he recorded in The Secret of Time and Space, he died more than 100,000 years ago. More than 100,000 years ago, that it is already in the Middle Ages, and it is too far away. The space where Zhang Ruochen is now is the inner space of the spar of time and space. The speed of time flow in the inner space is completely different from that of the outside world. After 3 days of cultivating in the inner space, only 1 day has passed. Zhang Ruochen was overjoyed and said with excitement, "It's 3 days to practice inside, but 1 day has passed outside. Isn't it 3 times longer than others to practice? That's great." Zhang Ruochen wanted to look at the second page of The Secret of Time and Space, but no matter what method he used, he couldn't open the second page. Can't open it again. Zhang Ruochen had an urge to throw The Secret of Time and Space to the ground. Suddenly, there was a small line in the last row of the first page he looked at. Cultivate to the little pole of the yellow pole, and infuse qi into the picture scroll, you can open the picture scroll. Zhang Ruochen gazed again at that scroll, guessing in his mind that the scroll must have recorded a certain mysterious method, maybe it was related to the cultivation of time and space. Diligently cultivate and strive to break through to the pole position as soon as possible, but have a look, what secrets are hidden in the picture. The small pole position is the 4th small realm of Huangji realm, and further up is the middle pole position, the large pole position, and the great consummation. There was a feeling of hunger in Zhang Ruochen's belly, and he immediately withdrew from the inner space of the spar of time and space and returned to his room again. He squeezed the spar of space-time tightly into his hands. With this spar, he has a greater certainty that he can practice to the late stage of the yellow pole within 3 months. Zhang Ruochen, Lin Fei, and maid Yuner sat together for breakfast. The food is just white rice and steamed buns, and no meat is seen at all. For the warrior, the physical energy consumed is much greater than that of ordinary people, and what is eaten is very important. Other princes and county lords who have opened the mark of the gods and martial arts eat blood dan, made from the blood of wild beasts every day, and no longer eat ordinary food. Taking 1 blood pill will replenish physical energy for a whole day. Even if you practice 1 day's boxing and sword skills, you will not feel hungry. Moreover, taking Shuodan still improves blood gas, strengthens the physical body, and increases physical strength. If Zhang Ruochen eats white rice and steamed buns, even if he eats 8 meals a day, it is far from enough for the body. Dust, you have already opened the mark of Shenwu, and you can no longer eat ordinary food. You should take these 10 blood dandelions first. If it is not enough, your mother is thinking of other ways. Pass it to Zhang Ruochen. Zhang Ruochen was scratching his hoe, he did not expect that Lin Fei could actually take out 10 blood dandelions. Some wondered, "Mother, 5 silver coins can buy 1 blood dandelion. 10 blood dandelions are 50 silver coins. You where's the money?" Fei Lin smiled. www.mtlnovel.com said, "Mother-in-law always has a way." The maid Yuner stood behind Lin Fei, and said, the maid was selling her favorite Buddhism gold magpie, and then went to Dan City to exchange 10 blood dawn. Princess Fei gave Yuner a slight glance, as if she was blaming her for talking, and then said, "Dust, don't think about it, as long as you can cultivate into a real warrior, even if your mother sells all the jewelry, will also support your cultivation." Zhang Ruochen's heart was so touched, he squeezed the jade bottle in his hand tightly, bit his lip, and wanted to tell Lin Fei that she had now become a true warrior. No, it cannot be done. It was too soon to open up the gas pool and complete the marrow washing and pulse washing. If the news leaked out accidentally, it would surely reach the ears of other princes and queens. At that time, they will hurt themselves, but also Lin Fei. He is still too weak now and needs more power. Character anti-pass filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry and you can watch it, see the most new percent chapters and sections. Easy. Look. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 5, Dragon Elephant Prajna. Beware of section passing section LV. The following is a typo, which is based on pinyin. Baidu equals shrimp equals hey equals yen equals brother equals guan equals candrunk equals letter equals zhang equals zhang. Ruochen's eyes have a sharp edge. The idea firmly said, my dear, rest assured. I will definitely become a strong one as soon as possible, and use my own strength to protect you. Holding Shui Dan, Zhang Ruochen returned to his room and continued to practice hard. Mother-in-law, it is said that the warrior not only needs to take Shuidan, but also practices the exercises. He must have the exercises to open up the meridians. The maid Yuner said. Lin Fei looked at the back of Zhang Ruochen's departure, pursed her lips, and nodded bitterly, and said, I know. But even the lowest grade exercises, it is necessary to sell more than 500 silver coins. Based on my current financial resources, basically can't afford it. Moreover, now that the queen and the state teacher are presiding over the administration of the dynasty, the queen simply cannot let Chainer go to the Hangshidian to receive exercises and martial arts. It seems there is only one way. The maid Yuner said, my mother is going to ask the Lin family. But 3 years ago, my mother and the Lin family had completely fallen out with them. Will they practice the exercises for His Highness 9 princes? As long as they are willing to practice the exercises for Chainer, even if I want to kneel on the ground to admit my mistakes, I can still kneel. Lin Fei seemed to have thought of something in the past, and could not help shed tears. But it wasn't her mother's fault. The maid Yuner sighed softly. The inner space of the spar of time and space is full of aura, about twice as rich as the outside world. You should know that in Yunwu County, if the concentration of the aura of those famous mountains and rivers reaches 1.5 times, it is already a treasure of cultivation and will be contended by major families. Manually enter the letter URL Ya. Watch the new chapter. Sitting in the center of the inner space, Zhang Ruochen took out the 1 jade bottle containing 10 blood dandelions, poured out 1 blood dandelion from the jade bottle, took the tip of his nose and sniffed gently. Although blood dan is made from the blood of wild beasts, it does not have a smell, but has a faint fragrance. When the alchemist refined the blood dandelion, he removed the gas, and added tiger weed and mandala. Long-term use of Shuidan can not only provide a continuous flow of physical strength for the warrior, but also improve the meridians, bones, and internal organs of the warrior, and make the warrior's body stronger. It's just a grade of Shuidan. Zhang Ruochen nodded gently, and muttered to himself, I thought it would be enough to take a grade of Shuidan. Zhang Ruochen put a blood dan suit into his mouth, and immediately recapped the jade bottle and put it on the stone platform. Under the urge of Zhenqi, Shui Dan's blood gas quickly melted away, providing Zhang Ruochen with endless energy. Although I reached the early stage of Huang Jigging, I became a warrior, but this flesh is too thin and cannot be compared with other warriors. I must strengthen my body to be strong, or be in harmony with the same. When warriors in realms fight, they will suffer a lot. For warriors, it is not only to cultivate qi, but also martial arts. The dragon elephant is like a palm. Zhang Ruochen's mind emerged from this mysterious set of techniques, which was enough to rank among the top 3 in the martial arts secrets in his memory, which is just right for him to cultivate now. His legs separated and his waist plate sank. He filled his body with his qi, fixed his body, slowly raised his arms, and began to pat his palms according to some mysterious law. In my mind, imagine yourself as an ancient idol with infinite strength. The abyss demon dragon that swallows the clouds and mists, exhausts every punch in the punch, just like every power in the body. Every time the palm is hit, the muscles of the whole body are pulled, and the true energy in the body is also merged into the muscles and bones, so that the muscles and bones are disengaged, become stronger, tougher, and even merge with the true energy. Dragon Elephant Prajna Palm, a martial art with 13 strokes, belongs to the king. To be precise, if the dragon elephant's palm can be cultivated to the 13th palm, even if it is compared with the god-level martial arts. Gongfa and martial arts are divided into 5 levels: human, spirit, ghost, king, and God. Dragon Elephant Prajna took the first palm of the very elephant galloping, and the success of the training was comparable to the martial arts of the lower grades. Dragon Elephant Prajna holds the second palm, flying dragons in the sky, and the practice is successful, and its power is comparable to human-level middle-class martial arts. Dragon Elephant Prajna holds the third palm, Dragon Elephant returns to the field. The cultivation success is comparable to the martial arts of human-grade top grade. Dragon Elephant Prajna holds the fourth palm, Dragon Image Shadow. After successful training, the power is comparable to the martial arts of inferior quality. The 13th palm of the Dragon Elephant Prajna palm is called Dragon Elephant Extinction, and its power is comparable to the god-level martial arts. The power exerted is unimaginable. The first few palms of the Dragon Elephant like a palm can only be regarded as low-level martial arts, and the power is not powerful. In addition, the Dragon Elephant has a palm like a palm, and it is extremely difficult to cultivate until it reaches the sun, and few people can cultivate to the 7th palm. After the 7th palm, each practice requires a lot of time and energy. If it can't resist the strength from the body to the solstice, it may even burn itself. It is for these reasons that the Dragon Elephant Prajna palm can only be regarded as the martial art of the king. Although the Dragon Elephant-like palm is very difficult to cultivate, it is just right for Zhang Ruochen to cultivate now, and he can strengthen his body in a short time. Dragon-like elephants have the first palm, like a gallop. Zhang Ruochen first stood up, then quickly stepped on his feet, rushed out, and quickly printed his palm print. Quiet like a mountain, moving like a wild elephant. Practice over and over again, until the vital energy in the body is exhausted, and then wipe the sweat, sit on the ground, and use the immortal mark of the eyebrow to absorb the spiritual energy in the space and time spar, and turn it into an endless energy. In the inner space of the spar of time and space, they practiced for 9 days, and finally successfully trained the first palm of the Dragon Elephant like a palm. 9 days in the inner space, the outside world is just the past 3 days. I don't know how strong I am with my current practice, showing the first palm of a Dragon Elephant like a palm. Zhang Ruochen came out of the inner space of the spar of time and space, came to the backyard, and stood in the center of the courtyard, moving the vitality in his body, filling his legs. It's pretty like a gallop. He stepped out on a regular pace. As the step progressed, a strong force rushed from the legs, through the waist and spine, to the back and shoulders, and gushes out from both arms. Although it is just a trick, it mobilizes the strength of every muscle in the body, and the explosive power is naturally quite amazing. Oh! Slap your palms on a half-human tall jackstone, and then immediately close your palms, stepping on the footsteps just now, and quickly return to the place. Zhang Ruochen looked at the big rock, and saw that there were 2 shallow palm-shaped dents on the surface of the rock. The bottom of the big stone sank about 2 centimeters into the dirt. For the power of this palm, Zhang Ruochen is quite satisfied. Although the Dragon Elephant Prajna palm is now only a martial art of subordinates, it is more sophisticated than the martial art of other subordinates, and the power of the explosion is also more powerful. The higher the level of martial arts, the harder it is to practice. If I practice the spiritual martial arts directly now, it will not be possible to cultivate successfully within 9 days, and it will take at least half a year. Moreover, with the true energy in my body quantity, it is impossible to perform spiritual martial arts. The time for practicing martial arts and exercises must be reasonably arranged. If it focuses on martial arts and neglects the practice of gongfa, it will lead to slow practice. If you focus on cultivating exercises and neglecting the practice of martial arts, you will suffer a lot when dealing with others. In any case, the practice of Jackie Chan is like the first palm of Zhang Ruochen. After 800 years, Zhang Ruochen finally has the ability to protect himself. In the past 9 days, Zhang Ruochen's practice has also greatly improved. The true energy in the Qi has been cultivated, and he can start to develop a second vein. But in order to open up the veins, you must take myelin. The queen only gave Zhang Ruochen a pill wash solution, which was used when the first meridian was opened. How can I get a second myelin, or even more? 9 princes, Nyang is looking for you everywhere. What are you doing here? The maid Yuner saw Zhang Ruochen standing in the center of the courtyard and came over curiously. Yuner is the only maid next to Lin Fei and Zhang Ruochen. About 17 or 8 years old, she looks quite beautiful, her eyes are bright, and her chin is sharp. Zhang Ruochen went across to Yuner, blocking Yun's sight, lest she saw the 2 fingerprints on the distant piece of rock, and asked with concern, "Sister Yuner, is your injury better on your arm?" Yuner shook his head gently and said, "It hurts his muscles for 100 days. I'm afraid it will take 2 or 3 months to heal." The injury on her arm was caused by Hakioji's palm a few days ago to break a bone. For their nieces, let alone break their bones, Hakioji does not need to take any responsibility even if they are killed by clubs. In a world where the strong are respected, the weak have no place at all. Zhang Ruochen said, "Why not buy a bone and bone intermittent cream?" Yuner held back the pain in his arm and grinned bitterly. The worst bone and bone interruption cream also cost 200 silver coins to buy. Inferior people like us can't even use it. 9 princes, you can, it's already good to care about us slaves. Hurry up and see my mother, today we are going out of the palace. Zhang Ruochen followed Yuner and asked curiously, "Out of the palace? Where to go?" "Go see Mu Shan. I haven't seen her for a long time. www.mtlnovel.com. You must be very happy." Yuner's face showed a bright smile, staring at Zhang Ruochen. Every time he talked about Cui Shan, he would definitely face red ears and be ashamed as a big girl. "Who is Mu Shan?" Zhang Ruochen swallowed back immediately after trying to ask. Obviously, Zhang Ruochen before his death must have known the woman named Nishan, and listening to Yuner's tone, their relationship might not be very ordinary. If Zhang Ruochen asks, "Who is Mu Shan?" in this case, keep silent, and the less you speak, the better. Fortunately, Zhang Ruochen has been frail and ill all these years. Except that Lin Fei has always cared about him, she rarely touches people. Otherwise, it is estimated that he has already been suspected. Seeing Zhang Ruochen's calmness, Yuner was slightly surprised, but he didn't think too much, and continued to walk towards the courtyard where Lin Fei lived. Character anti-pass filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry and you can watch it, see the most new % chapters and sections. Easy. Look. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 6, Lin Qishan. Be careful. Section over section LV. The following is a typo. Pindui prevails. Baidu equals shrimp equals hay equals yen equals brother equals guan equals candrunk equals letter equals Zhang Ruochen, Lin Fei, and made Yuner sit an ancient antelope horse wandering out of Yunwu Palace. Antelope horse is not a real horse, but a wild animal with a single horn on its head. The body is more than 3 meters in height, like a baby elephant, and it runs more than 5 times faster than an ordinary war horse. Some of the strong antelope horses can even travel 3,000 miles a day. The antelope horse did not know how far it had been, and gradually stopped. Zhang Ruochen stepped down from the car, looked at the 2 golden gates not far away, and looked at the gilt plaque hanging on the top of the gate, on which were written 2 vigorous and powerful characters, Lin Fu. As soon as his heart moved, wouldn't his mother-in-law be surnamed Lin? Looking at the style of this mansion, the Lin family is not a small family but a small family. If the maid's family is really a big family, why can't she get the support of her family and be bullied by other princesses everywhere in the county king's house? There must be a secret. Lin Fei also came down from the carriage and looked up at the door that was familiar and unfamiliar, saying, "Dust, you must have wanted to see Mu Shan already. Now you have also created a mark of magical martial arts. I believe you have a lot of topics to talk with, but you must cheer." Until now, Zhang Ruochen didn't know who was Shan and I, and when he heard Yuner and Lin Fei, there was always a strange feeling. Led by Lin Fei, Zhang Ruochen and Yuner walked into Lin Fu together. 77%, 77%, 77%, 2%, 68%, 65%, 69%, 79%, 61%, 60%, 67%, 65%, 2%, 63%, 6%, 6D. The princess returned to the family, in theory, should be welcomed grandly, but only the elderly steward brought Lin Fei and Zhang Ruochen to the door. Lin Fei was taken to the inner house by the old housekeeper, while Zhang Ruochen and Yuner remained in the outer house. Only 2 maids stayed to receive them. Zhang Ruochen always felt that the atmosphere was not right, but he didn't know how to ask, and could only keep silent. 9 princes, aren't you going to see Cui Shan? She should be Yanwucheng now, and those young children of the Lin family should be practicing there. Yun'er asked. After being mentioned several times by Yun'er and Lin Fei, Zhang Ruochen's heart became even more curious. Who is that woman named Cui Shan? It's okay to see each other. Let's go to the Lin Wu's performance martial arts ground. Zhang Ruochen nodded. Lin's house. In an antique hall, Lin Fengxian, the head of the Lin family, sat calmly on the teacher's chair. He looked like he was 30 years old, with 2 neatly beards above his lips, and glanced at Lin Fei, who was sitting opposite him, saying, "The 9 princes are descendants of the county king's palace. It's time to go to the collection of the county king's palace to choose the practice method." Why does Lin Fei's mother come to the Lin family to ask for the practice method? Princess Lin bit her lip gently and said, "Not so much, but I asked my elder brother to see that Chen Er is your relative and nephew, and he can give him a volume of practice." Oh. Lin Fengxian snorted and took a palm shot on the table, saying, "Now you know, come to beg my elder brother. Come and tell me now. 3 years ago, when I went to the county king's palace to ask for you, why didn't you look at Chen Yu? It was your pronephew's affection to save him. You know that Chen Yu is my sister-in-law, and a peerless genius who can hardly come out of the Lin family for a century. As long as you go to the county king, you can always keep him, but you didn't. 3 years ago." Lin Fei was very wronged and couldn't help crying, trying to tell the truth 3 years ago. However, Lin Fengxian interrupted her and said, "Let's go. The Lin family and you have long been severed, and you won't come back in the future. Mother Lin." Boom. Princess Lin knelt directly on the ground, and kept crying, her voice sobbed, "Brother, are you so heartless? I want to see my father. Dad went to Tianmo Ling and will not be back until 3 months later. You can't see him now." Lin Fengxian said indifferently. "One more thing, Niu Shan and His Highness Prince 7 are about to get engaged, and His Highness 9 princes will be engaged in the future. Stay away from the mud." Lin Fei's heart was even more desperate, and she said, "You know that Chen Er has always liked Naishan. How sad would he be if he knew that Naishan was engaged with the 7 princes? Besides, how could he be the 7 princes?" Lin Fengxian said, "At the age of 3, His Royal Highness the 7 princes opened the mark of Qiping Shenwu. How amazing is the talent! With his current martial arts practice, no one in the younger generation of Yunwu County can look back on it. Cui Shan can and the 7 princes. His Royal Highness formation will be of great benefit to the future of our Lin family. Although 9 princes and Cui Shan are cousins and sisters, they are also good playmates. They are considered to be childhood friends. However, after all, 9 princes have mediocre qualifications. Only at the age of 16 did they open the mark of Shenwu. There will not be much achievement in this life, and they can cultivate. By the end of the yellow pole, it should be the limit. It is simply incomparable with the 7 princes." Lin Feidao said, "Cui Shan is also willing to get engaged with the 7 princes. Will it be happy for the sake of family interests?" Lin Fengxian stared at Lin Fei first, and said indifferently, "You are wrong, this is the decision of Cui Shan. The Lin family's performance martial arts field is very wide, half the size of a football field. The young children of the Lin family wearing blue military uniforms are practicing martial arts on the martial arts field. Some are practicing boxing, some are practicing swordsmanship, and some are practicing swordsmanship. They belong to the elite of the Lin family, and each of them opens the mark of divine martial arts and concentrates on cultivation. At the same time, the elders of the Lin family gave them pointers in the performance martial arts, and they were thriving." Zhang Ruochen nodded his head and said secretly, "The Lin family can be regarded as a clan in Yunwu County." Suddenly, Zhang Ruochen's eyes stared at a slender girl, and she couldn't help but be shocked. I saw that the girl looked only 14 or 5 years old. She was petite and slender, her eyebrows were like willow leaves, her eyes were bright like stars, her skin was white and she was like a jade. She is holding a sword that emits a faint starlight, emitting a pale cyan sword, and countless swords around her body, walking with her pace. Exquisite to the extreme. The spirit is released, and the sword goes freely. Her martial arts practice has at least reached the extreme position of the Huangji realm, which is much stronger than the Hakkyoji. Zhang Ruochen said secretly. Well. Isn't that the 9 princes? He still came to Lin's house. A young child of the Lin family saw Zhang Ruochen standing outside the Yanwu field with a cold smile. Surely I'm looking for Sister Shuang again. Unfortunately, Sister Shan is too lazy to see him now. I heard that he also opened the mark of divine martial arts. He. Only at the age of 16 did you open the mark of Shenwu. What can you do? If he is not the cousin of Sister Mian Shan, maybe he can't even enter the Lin's door. I heard that Sister Cui Shan is about to get engaged with the 7 princes. It's really a beautiful girl. Hey. It is said that the 9 princes have always been secretly in love with Sister Miyama. If you heard that he was about to get engaged with His Highness 7 princes, what would it look like? All the young warriors of the Lin family stopped practicing and stared at Zhang Ruochen, who was standing outside the performance martial arts. Lin Suishan also stopped practicing swords, glanced at Zhang Ruochen standing outside Yanwu field, and gently waved the slender jade arm, and the Xinghui Bao sword in his hand was accurately inserted into the scabbard 5 meters away. Lin Suishan walked in front of Zhang Ruochen, looked at Zhang Ruochen's thin body, and said, "Cousin, I haven't seen you in a long time. I heard that you have also opened the mark of God and martial arts." At a very young age, Lin Nikhan and Zhang Ruochen were still good playmates, and they were considered to be childhood sweethearts, but later Lin Nikhan opened the mark of Shenwu. Most of the time was spent on cultivation, and he became more and more alienated from Zhang Ruochen. After the incident 3 years ago, she never visited Yanwu Palace again. Although Zhang Ruochen has been ill for many years, she still goes to the Lin family to find her. Even if she can see her, she will feel very happy. However, she has been able to see her less and less, and has never seen her in the last 6 months. She sent a maid out and sent Zhang Ruochen away. She turned out to be my cousin. Now Zhang Ruochen can be said to be seeing Lin Nikhan for the first time, and she doesn't feel anything about her, so she seems very calm and humble. It is indeed the mark of Shenwu that is opened, but the Queen Mother said that there is no mark of Shenwu of grade. Natural. It cannot be compared with the cousin's immortal mark. Lin Suishan nodded, looking up at the snow-white chin, proud as a white swan, saying, "After all, you are 16 years old, and you can open the mark of divine martial arts, which is also a gift from heaven to you. You must work hard to cultivate in the future. Although you can't be a martial artist, you can at least build up and stay in the bed all year round. For you, at least you can be a normal person." Zhang Ruochen frowned slightly. www.mtlnovel.com nodded and said, "I will work hard in the future to try to catch up with your cousin for your cultivation." Lin Suishan naturally knew that Zhang Ruochen liked her, and when he heard Zhang Ruochen's words, he thought Zhang Ruochen still didn't give up and wanted to continue to pursue her. "Well, my cousin, my cultivation has reached the middle of the yellow pole, and it is only 1 step away from the great pole. With your qualifications, it is estimated that you will not be able to practice the middle pole in your lifetime. What should be done is down-to-earth cultivation. Don't blindly pursue things that shouldn't be pursued. Being a person can't be so high-minded or you will suffer from it." Lin Suishan said in a pun. Zhang Ruochen's brow frowned deeper. Lin Suishan took a sympathetic look at Zhang Ruochen and said, "Cousin, there is one more thing I want to tell you. I hope you are not too sad. After 3 months, when the county king goes out of the customs, His Highness 7 and I should be engaged." There was a good show. Hey! All the young warriors of the Lin family were very happy, and they stared at Zhang Ruochen one after another. What kind of reaction would they like to see Zhang Ruochen? Character anti-pass filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry and you can watch it, see the most new % chapters and sections. Easy. Look. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 7, Heavenly Heart Sword Technique. Beware of section over section LV. The following is a typo according to Pinyin. Baidu equals shrimp equals hey equals yen equals brother equals guan cho equals kendrunk equals letter equals zhang street equals zhang ruochen did not have any emotional fluctuations. Say, congratulations to my cousin, we will be able to kiss and kiss in the future. Having said this, Zhang Ruochen turned and left. For the first time, Zhang Ruochen didn't like this beautiful cousin, and he didn't talk about speculation for a long time, so he left a little bit. Seeing Zhang Ruochen had no reaction at all the young warriors of the Lin family were disappointed. How could this be? Seeing Zhang Ruochen's indifferent appearance, Lin Suishan's heart was a bit lost, staring at Zhang Ruochen's back and leaving, a little unwilling to say, don't you want to know the reason? Zhang Ruochen was really not interested in who Lin Linshan was engaged to, but since she had to tell him how he looked, he naturally stopped at ease and nodded gently. When you get engaged, I will definitely congratulations. If there is nothing else, I will go to my mother. Just after saying this, Zhang Ruochen saw Lin Fei coming out of Lin Fu's inner court. Lin Fei's eyes were red, apparently just crying. Although she had wiped away the tears, how could she hide it from Zhang Ruochen? Zhang Ruochen immediately greeted and asked with concern, Mother, what's wrong with you? Who bullied you? Princess Fei shook her head and said, it's all right, let's go back. Seeing how Lin Fei looks like, how could it be all right? Latest chapters have been uploaded. After meeting Lin Suishan, Zhang Ruochen didn't like the Lin family at all. Seeing Lin Fei's appearance at the moment, Zhang Ruochen was even more disgusted with the Lin family. Slow. Lin Fengxian walked out of the inner courtyard with his hands on his back, took a slight look at Zhang Ruochen, took out a book of ancient animal skins from his sleeve, and said, this is a set of human-level inferior cultivation exercises, Tai Ade. You can open up 7 meridians and take them for practice. Although it is not a deep cultivation practice, you can at least complete the spinal washing and pulse washing. It should be enough for you. Later, Lin Fengxian ordered another person to take 2 spinal fluids, and said coldly, after all, you also have the blood of our Lin family, and take these 2 spinal fluids together. Lin Fei stared deeply at Lin Fengxian, revealing a grateful look, and immediately pulled Zhang Ruochen's hand, saying, Dust, thank you for your unhappiness. Zhang Ruochen looked at Lin Fengxian's charity, and his heart was very displeased. It is no wonder that the mother-in-law would be red with her eyes. It is estimated that the mother-in-law just received a little humiliation in front of him in order to ask him for a volume of exercises. Without the Lin family's alms, my mother kisses us. Zhang Ruochen didn't look at Lin Fengxian's practice exercises and pulp washing fluids. He pulled Lin Fei and left Lin Fu. Shame on your face, and really consider yourself a prince. All the young warriors of the Lin family sneered and sneered. Lin Suishan stared at the young boy who resolutely walked out of Lin Fu's house. His heart was even more surprised, and he always felt that his weak cousin seemed to be a little different. When the seal of Shenwu was opened, he would naturally become more angry. However, he did not know that the seal of Shenwu was opened before he was 16 years old. In fact, he has already passed the golden age of Shenwu. What we want to do so much, we are destined to be too in the future. People of the world. Lin Qishan sighed, returned to Yanwucheng, and continued to cultivate. Out of Lin's mansion, Lin Fei said, Dust, you are so impulsive. As long as you can become a martial artist and use the martial arts to strengthen your body, your mother-in-law will be harmed no matter how much grievance. Zhang Ruochen's body stood upright, turned around and stared at the golden plaque with Lin House printed on it. Mother-in-law, don't worry. I can still be a warrior without the alms of the Lin family, but also the strong among the warriors. Lin Fei sighed softly and stopped talking, and suddenly it seemed like she thought of something, saying, Dust, Cui Shan and the 7 princes are about to be engaged, do you already know? You must not be too sad. Zhang Ruochen smiled and said, Mother, you can rest assured. There are so many good women in the world, there are always women who are better than Lin Nishan. You can think so, your mother is really assured. Lin Fei smiled comfortably. Back at the Yunwu Palace, Zhang Ruochen took the last blood dan into the space of the spar of time and space, and began to practice the dragon-elephant prajna again. After exhaustion, he sat down for a short rest. My mother's humiliation at the Lin family, sooner or later, I will let the Lin family double back. What happened 3 years ago? It seems I have to find an opportunity to ask my sister Yuna. Of course, my primary goal now is to shock as soon as possible. To the middle of the yellow pole. If you want to impact the middle stage of the yellow pole, you must take the spinal fluid. It costs at least 200 silver coins to buy 1 pill wash solution. 200 silver coins is not a small amount to Zhang Ruochen. Moreover, he practiced the Jiutianming Emperor's Sutra. If he wanted to break through the middle of the yellow polar realm, 1 pill wash solution was obviously not enough. Here. Zhang Ruochen slaps his forehead and scolds himself for being too stupid. He obviously has a huge treasure trove, but still spends all his time earning silver coins. You know, his last life was the son of the Emperor Ming. He read a lot of high-quality exercises and martial arts, all of which are in his mind, and can easily sell a book of cultivation exercises and martial arts for a high price. The Jiu Tianming Emperor's Sutra, and the Dragon Elephant Prajna Fist are divine merit treasures in the Kunlun realm, and naturally they cannot be sold. In his memory, there are some other low-grade exercises and martial arts. Taking out a copy casually can also cause a lot of sensation in Yunwu County. Zhang Ruochen immediately brought in paper and ink, and wrote down a set of spiritual martial arts, heart sword technique, silently. Jianxin swordsmanship is already the lowest level martial art in Zhang Ruochen's memory. Inferior grade. The martial arts of low-grade spirits should be regarded as top martial arts in Yunwu County. Even the big family of the Lin family, the most powerful martial arts is probably the low-quality martial arts, and there are only 1 or 2 sets at most, as the township. Peerless. You know, in Yunwu County, many warriors have no chance to practice martial arts. Even the martial arts of the subordinates are a great treasure for them. Martial arts with the lowest price of human-grade subordinates also need to sell at least 300 silver coins. Some of the powerful human-level subordinates can even sell for more than 1,000 silver coins. Ordinary martial arts casual repairs simply cannot afford it. Some martial arts are desperate to fight for one's own subordinate martial arts. As for the martial arts of sublime quality, once they are sold, even the heads of the big families will be enthusiastic, and they will buy the martial arts at all costs. One more spiritual martial art will increase the family heritage. After finishing the practice of Tianxin sword technique, Zhang Ruochen drew a small picture of each technique on the paper. Zhang Ruochen condenses a small amount of true energy in the body to the tip of the pen, and condenses the true energy and martial arts mood into the sword strokes pattern. Exhausting the vitality in the body is just a picture. Zhang Ruochen immediately sat up and ran the Jiu Tianming Emperor's Sutra, to practice the qi and the qi, and then began to draw the second picture. It took half a day to finish drawing all the 12 moves of the heart sword technique. Although his cultivation is no longer there, his eyesight is still there, and his understanding of martial arts is still there. Each of the strokes drawn is very exquisite, unlike the sword strokes drawn on the original copy of the heart sword. What's the difference? With my current understanding of martial arts, it is already the limit to draw the martial arts of the lower grades of spiritual level. If I want to draw the martial arts catalog of the middle grades of spiritual level, it is estimated that I can only draw 1/3 of the martial arts of the middle level A mood. Martial arts cheats cannot be printed and copied casually. Even if ordinary people write down the tactics of the heart sword technique and the pattern of the sword, it is just in vain. Even if the sword technique is successfully cultivated, it is impossible to achieve the power of the sword skill of the lower grade. Zhang Ruochen was a powerful man with great perfection in the heavenly realm. He could only draw the charm of swordsmanship of the lower grades of the spiritual level, and no matter how advanced martial arts, he could not paint all the charms. The swordsmanship of the inferior spirit should be able to sell for a good price. Zhang Ruochen did not immediately take the Jianxin sword technique to Wuxi, but waited for Tian to go in the direction of the palace gate. His Royal Highness Prince, are you going out of the house so late? Said the 2 guards guarding the palace gate. The 2 guards also knew that the 9 princes and Lin Fei were rushed to live in the side hall, which meant that they had lost power in the palace. So there was no respectful look on their faces, and they didn't even salute Zhang Ruochen. Zhang Ruochen wasn't the same cowardly Zhang Ruochen. He stared sharply at the two guards, raised his chest slightly, and said, "The prince is going to Lin's house to find his cousin, and he doesn't open the palace door immediately." After all, Zhang Ruochen was Wang Sungui. The two guards would not really offend him. They opened the palace door and watched Zhang Ruochen leave. What a hard temper. If he wasn't the son of King Yunwu County, he would have died many times. One of the guards said coldly. It is said that Lin Suishan, the talented woman of the Lin family, is about to get engaged with the 7 princes. He is still not dead, it is stupid enough, said another guard in disdain. Of course, Zhang Ruochen didn't really go to Lin Suishan, but just used such an excuse to go out of the palace without being suspected. Out of the palace, Zhang Ruochen took out a wide-colored cloak clothes from the spar of time and space, wrapped the whole body in the cloak clothes, and walked into the brightly lit King City. In secret www.mtlnovel.com no one can see his face at all. Before long, Zhang Ruochen walked through the bustling streets and entered Wushi. The other places in Wangqing can only be regarded as vulgar cities. The area occupied by Wushi is only 1/10 the size of the entire King City, but it is the most prosperous place in Yunwu County. Wushi is further divided into 5 areas: Dan, Qi, Beast, Slave, and Central Auctions. Takashi determines the rise and fall of the entire Yunwu County to a certain extent, so the county's management of Takashi is very strict. Every entrance to Wushi has a sergeant in hand, and only warriors or noble people are eligible to enter Wushi. Ask for a recommendation ticket, ask for collection. Knees thank you. Announcing the QQ group of a book 4711555126 characters anti-passing filtering. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry to see the most. New percent chapter and section. Easy. See. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 8, Takashi. Be careful section over section LV. The following is a typo. Pindui prevails. Baidu equals shrimp equals hay equals yen equals brother equals guan equals candrunk equals Zhang equals go on. The martial arts of the sublime quality are not those that can be eaten by ordinary shops. Only by getting them at the central auction house and auctioning them to big families can the value of martial arts be maximized. As soon as Zhang Ruochen entered the auction house, a tidy and pretty maid was greeted. She saw Zhang Ruochen's mysterious attire, she was not surprised at all, and said politely, "Sir, what help do you need?" "I want to see the deacon at your central auction house." Zhang Ruochen changed his voice a little, looking rather muddled, sounding like a middle-aged man in his 30s and 40s. "Who the is this?" "Seeing the deacon as soon as I speak, it seems that it is not small. Slave is going to sue the deacon now, but the deacon is usually very busy. To receive VIP customers, there may not be time to come out to see you. Wait a moment." Having said this, the maid immediately entered a door and went to sue the deacon. Zhang Ruochen was not in a hurry, just stood in the lobby and waited quietly. It didn't take long for the maid to lead a chubby old man in a luxurious robe and point out to Zhang Ruochen, saying, "The deacon, that person." The deacon glanced far away at Zhang Ruochen wearing a colored cloak, and his eyes were fixed on Zhang Ruochen's feet, and his old eyes flashed a little, flashing a faint flash dot. The latest chapters have been updated. The boots worn by Zhang Ruochen's feet are called Kirin inlaid gold boots. Only people in the palace are eligible to wear such boots. Zhang Ruochen naturally revealed his boots intentionally. After all, what he was auctioning was the swordsmanship of the inferior grade, which would inevitably be stunned. Based on his current martial arts practice, the sword skills of the inferior spirit can't be kept at all. But if people know that he is a big man in the palace, then there are few people who dare to make his idea. When your strength is not strong enough, you can only pretend that you are very powerful, and it is still necessary to scare people. It's not easy to come. The deacon looked at the pair of boots under Zhang Ruochen's feet and thought so. The deacon's attitude towards Zhang Ruochen immediately became respectful. Zhang Ruochen was regarded as a big man in the palace. When he came to Zhang Ruochen, he whispered, "Master, please." "Okay." Zhang Ruochen, with his hands on his shoulders in order to stun the other, showed a full of demeanor and nodded gently. The warriors in the lobby saw the deacon actually show such an attitude, and secretly guessed that it seemed that a great figure came from the central auction house. On the third floor of the central auction hall, Zhang Ruochen sat calmly at the top, took the teacup handed over by the maid, and said in a higher voice, "I have a treasure here, and I want to deposit it at the central auction house for auction. Call your top appraiser and help me identify." When the deacon saw Zhang Ruochen's demeanor, he was more certain that the other party was an important figure in the palace, and immediately ordered someone to call an appraiser. After a while, an old man with gray hair came in. The old man, looking like he was 70 or 80 years old, had a pair of eyes that were bright and energetic. He took a look at Zhang Ruochen and found that he could not see the other person's practice, and he was startled. The old man immediately respectfully worshipped Zhang Ruochen, old as the chief appraiser at the central auction house. "I don't know where the adult is going to auction." Seeing the other side's cultivation behavior, there are only 3 cases. The first one is that the other person's martial arts cultivation is higher than him. Second, the practice of the other party is much better than the practice of his practice. For example, warriors who practice human-level exercises generally cannot see the practice of warriors who practice spiritual-level exercises, and can only roughly guess the practice of the other party from some details and the breath displayed. Of course, if the levels of the exercises are similar, those who practice high will still be able to see the martial arts practice of those who practice low. Third, there are hidden treasures on the opponent's body. The second and third situations are not common, so the old man instinctively thought that it was the first situation, and thought that Zhang Ruochen's cultivation was above him, so he immediately respectfully saluted Ning Xiaochuan. "You should know that Zhang Ruochen's practice is the Jiutianming Emperor's Sutra, and how deep the exercises are, unless he deliberately displays the meridians in his body. Otherwise, it is estimated that few people in Yinwu County can see his martial arts. Besides, Zhang Ruochen's previous life was originally a strong man with great celestial realm. Although he was reborn in an ordinary person, the understanding of martial arts and the spirit of spirit carried by his soul were not the same as those of the martial arts with great perfection. The difference. I want to see through his cultivation, unless the opponent's martial arts realm is above the great consummation of heaven." Zhang Ruochen's hand reached into the sleeve, and touched on the spar of time and space. The palm directly entered the space of the spar of time and space. He took out the recipe of Heart of Sword, and gave it to the gray-haired old man. "What I want to auction is the sword technique of this inferior quality," Zhang Ruochen said lightly. As soon as the chief appraiser took the tactic of Heart Sword technique, he heard Zhang Ruochen's words, and his heart was slightly surprised. How to auction the swordsmanship of the inferior spirit. The chief appraiser immediately unrolled the rolled paper and studied it carefully. The deacon standing aside also immediately walked over and consulted the Jianxin sword technique formula. The chief appraiser and the deacon were masters of martial arts, and they quickly identified the results and nodded. It is indeed the tactics of the swordsmanship of the spirit grade inferiors. "I don't know how many tricks the master has in his hands?" the deacon asked. "The combination of tactics and sword moves can bring out the true power of the inferior swordsmanship." Even if the deacon and the chief appraiser forcibly wrote down the formula of the Heart Sword technique, if there was no matching sword trick, then the formula written down would be useless. Zhang Ruochen said, "The whole set of swordsmanship has a total of 12 strokes. The original swordsmanship has been lost. The Jianxin swordsmanship I have in my hand is a sword stroke pattern drawn by a strong man in the celestial realm. There is no difference in the original version." The chief appraiser pondered for a moment and said, "In this case, the starting price for the Jianxin sword technique is set at 200,000 silver coins. However, there is a premise that after the auction is successful, the sword mainly for the Jianxin sword technique is bought. Zhao He's recipes are reviewed, and if the swordsmanship that is not a sublime quality is reviewed, the auction results will not be counted." Zhang Ruochen nodded and said, "Everything is done according to the rules of the auction house." The auction of Jianxin sword technique, just tonight, has become the finale of the Chinese products auction field tonight. Before the auction began, the central auction house immediately spread the news to the major families in Wangcheng. The important figures of the major families have rushed to Wuxi with huge sums of money, and they all want to buy a complete set of inferior swordsmanship. Zhang Ruochen did not care about the auction process, but only the results of the auction. About 2 hours passed, the auction ended, and the results of the auction came out. In the battle between the major families, the price of the heart sword technique was raised to 1.2 million silver coins, which was eventually captured by the owner of the Lin family. It's the Lin family. Zhang Ruochen was slightly surprised when he heard the result. Not long after, under the leadership of the deacon, Lin's head Lin Fengxian, Lin's clan uncle, Lin Yunshan, one of the 4 young beauties in Yinwu County, came in from the outside. Master Lin, this master is the master of the heart sword. The deacon's face with a smile, pointing towards Zhang Ruochen, who was sitting at the top. Lin Fengxian's gaze stayed on the pair of Kirin-inlaid gold boots on Zhang Ruochen's feet for a moment, nodded slightly, and arched his hand slightly, saying, in the forest owner of Xiaolin, Lin Fengxian, I don't know how to call them. Before coming in, Lin Fengxian first heard the deacon describe this mysterious person, knowing that the other party has a lot of potential, it is likely to be a big figure in the palace. Therefore, after Lin Feng walked in first, he took the initiative to lower the attitude of his Lin family owner. Seeing Lin Fengxian and Lin Suishan, Zhang Ruochen became more careful to prevent them from being recognized. Zhang Ruochen coughed 2 times. www.mtlnovel.com. The voice became deeper. You don't need to know my name. This is the Tianqin sword technique, S recipe and sword style. Let S take it home and review it. During the conversation, Zhang Ruochen took out the tactics and sword moves from the sleeves and put them on the table. Lin Fengxian did not review the Tianqin sword technique formula. He believed that the central auction site had already identified the formula before the auction. He unfolded the sword strokes of the heart sword technique and saw 12 villain pictures on the paper. If ordinary people look at those 12 pictures, they can't see anything special, but when Lin Fengxian's eyes fell on the paper, the 12 villains with long swords seemed to have come alive and stood on the paper. Dance on the sword. Each method of swordsmanship is exquisite, containing the profound and profound martial arts mood. Even if only one of them is learned, it has been used endlessly. This set of swordsmanship definitely belongs to the top level in the martial arts of the lower grades of the spiritual level, and it is too worth buying. Lin Fengxian's heart was extremely excited. Character anti-pass filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry and you can watch it, see the most new % chapters and sections. Easy. Look. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 9, The Truth 3 years ago. That's right. It is indeed a sword-level swordsmanship, and it is also a powerful sword pattern drawing by a predecessor of Tianji realm. Lin Fengxian had a happy expression on his face, and immediately closed up the tactics of the Tianqin swordsmanship and the pattern of the sword. Great! When you buy this kind of subtle swordsmanship, the Lin family can increase a lot. The deacon walked in front of Zhang Ruochen and said, Master, the heart sword technique sold a total of 1.24 million silver coins, deducting the 12,000 silver coins paid to the auction house, a total of 122,18,000 silver coins. I wonder if the adults are going to exchange them for Lingjing. Or redeem it. Or deposit it in Wuxi Bank. When ordinary people trade, they use copper, silver and gold coins. However, the blood warrior or spirit crystal is generally used for transactions between warriors. Zhang Ruochen said, 1.2 million silver coins were deposited in Wuxi Bank, and 20,000 silver coins were exchanged for Lingjing, and the remaining 8,000 silver coins were directly withdrawn to me. Half an hour later, the deacon handed Zhang Ruochen a card made of yellow spar and said, Sir, this is a Samsung Noble card of Wuxi Qinzhuang. 1.2 million silver coins have been deposited in the card. Noble card is a status symbol, and very few people can hold Samsung Noble card in Yinwu County. Having a Samsung Noble card means that you have more than 1 million silver coins. Later, the deacon handed Zhang Ruochen a bag containing 20 Lingjing and 8,000 silver coins. Updated next chapter. Zhang Ruochen didn't say a word, raised the burden, and walked towards the central auction house. This guy's back is so familiar. Lin Suishan stared at the distant shadow, and a familiar feeling appeared in his heart. Lin Fengxian said, I also have a bit of familiar feeling, I should have seen it in the palace. This person is not simple. I am afraid that his real identity is a bit scary. Lin Suishan asked curiously, Dad, why do you say that? Lin Fengxian's expression of the heavenly heart sword technique did not dry out, indicating that the sword strokes were only drawn today. The person who painted the heart sword technique must be a strong man in heaven. That is to say, either he is the strong man in the celestial realm, then there is a strong man in the celestial realm behind him. In either case, this person is not something we can provoke. The strong man in Tianjijing. Lin Suishan was shocked and said, even the grandpa, it seems that he has not yet broken through to Tianjijing. Lin Fengxian nodded his head, his eyes looked a little longing. The four major realms of martial arts, Huangji realm, Xuanji realm, Geopolar realm, Tianji realm. Tianji realm represents the ultimate realm of martial arts. It can be called a martial art myth. Once you enter Tianji realm, you can fly off the ground, and you can stand alone against 100,000 troops. It is a real strong person. After surpassing the celestial realm, it is beyond the scope of martial arts, and even beyond the physical fetuses. The various means exhibited are not ordinary martial arts can imagine. Lin Suishan said, there should not be a few powerful men in the royal palace. If you go to check, maybe you can find out who it is. Lin Fengxian's face looked down and said, don't do such a stupid thing. If you outrage that celestial powerhouse, our entire Lin family would have to pay a bitter price. Lin Jishan's eyes flashed with wisdom, and said, Dad. I have a doubt. Since he is a big man in the palace, there should be no shortage of silver coins. Why should he put out the spirit swords for auction? Lin Fengxian pondered for a moment and said, the 8 spiritual martial arts of the royal family are all well-known combat skills, and there is no heart sword technique. We better not to investigate this matter. The strongest in the heavenly realm is not our Lin family can offend. Shaner, you have the mark of Kendo martial arts, and you are the best person to practice the heart sword technique. After you go back, you will retreat to practice the heart sword technique. If you can successfully practice the first stroke technique within 3 months, when you are assessed at the end of the year, you will definitely be among the young talents of the relatives of the king and relatives brilliant. Leaving the central auction hall, Zhang Ruochen walked out of Wushi, took a circle in the city of the king, found a hidden place, took off his colored cloak clothes and unicorn-inlaid gold boots, put them into the spar of time and space, and replaced them a pair of ordinary cloth shoes. This costume looks like an ordinary juvenile warrior. No one should recognize that I am the mysterious person who auctioned the Tianqin sword technique just now. Zhang Ruochen, carrying the package containing the lingjing and silver coins, walked into Wushi again and began to buy the items he needed. First, he spent 4,000 silver coins and purchased 20 pill washing fluids. Later, he spent another 1,000 silver coins and purchased 200 blood dawn. Based on his current practice, taking a pint of shuadon is enough. 200 pieces of blood dan were enough for him to take for half a year. Then, he bought 2 other remedies, lean sand powder, and ju qi dan. Both drugs are very expensive. Even the talented disciples in the big family, in the early days of Huang Jigging, could not afford such treasures. For Zhang Ruochen, who has a wealth of money, as long as he can quickly improve the repair, it is worth the extra silver coins. In the end, he spent 5 lingjing and purchased 5 refining powders. It cost 10 lingjing and bought 10 chichi dan. In addition, he spent 500 silver coins to buy the bone and bone intermittent paste for Yuner. Excluding the 1.2 million silver coins in Wushi Qianzhuang, 5 lingjing and 2,500 silver coins remain on his body. Putting all the purchased elixir into the spar of time and space, Zhang Ruochen returned to the palace again. Sister Yuner, this is the bone and bone intermittent cream I bought for you. It will definitely make your arm get better soon. Zhang Ruochen took out a delicate ebony box and handed it to Yuner. Yuner was shocked for a moment, and some hurriedly picked up the ebony box and opened the box. Inside the box, a fragrant, medicinal odor was immediately emitted. Her heart was grateful and surprised, and asked, His Royal Highness 9 Princes, you, where did you get the silver coins to buy the bone intermittent cream? You know, the worst bone interruption cream also sells 200 silver coins. Better, even sell 500 silver coins. Zhang Ruochen smiled and said, Sister Yun'er, I have some secrets. I can't tell you yet, I hope you can keep secrets for me. Yun'er gave Zhang Ruochen a deep glance, nodded his head, and whispered, Can I tell Mrs. Lin? Not for now, Zhang Ruochen said. Okay. I promise you. Yun'er squeezed the ebony box in his hand tightly, and a little relief came into his heart. Since Her Royal Highness 9 Princes can spend hundreds of silver coins, she must have a great opportunity to buy her discontinuous cream. Maybe His Royal Highness 9 Princes can become a martial arts power in the future. Zhang Ruochen asked, One thing I have been wondering, I hope Sister Yun'er can tell me the truth. Since my mother is the sister of the Lin family's owner, why did the mother break the relationship with the Lin family? What happened 3 years ago? Yun'er sighed and said, Because His Royal Highness 9 Princes has been frail and sick, and cannot be stimulated, this matter has been concealed. Since His Royal Highness 9 Princes has now opened the seal of divine martial arts, let me tell you. You should still remember the first genius of the Lin family, Lin Chenyu. He is your cousin and the eldest son of the Lin family owner. At the age of 17, he practiced to the great consummation of the yellow pole. But just 3 years ago, Lin Chenyu offended another great genius, who was interrupted by that genius and locked in a prison. How can this happen? Zhang Ruochen said. The Lin family is also a big family in Yinwu County. Who dares to put the first genius of the Lin family into the prison? Does Lin Chenyu's offended genius have a terrific beginning? Yun'er nodded and said, Yes. Lin Chenyu's offense is the most dazzling Tianjiao of the Yinwu County, His Royal Highness 7 Princes. The other geniuses will immediately dim before His Royal Highness 7. That's it. Zhang Ruochen nodded, and finally came to understand. Yun'er continued, After Lin Chenyu was put into the prison, the owner of the Lin family immediately rushed to the palace to ask Mrs. Lin. He hoped that Mrs. Lin could come forward and plead with the county king. As long as Lin Chenyu's life can be spared, the Lin family can pay any price. Naturally, Lin Fei went to see the county king immediately, but was stopped by the queen. Because of this, Lin Fei and the queen had a dispute. When the queen became angry, she ordered the staff to blame Lin the concubine was 30 sticks. When the 30 concubines finished playing, the concubine Lin was already full of blood and was about to die. Oh! Zhang Ruochen slammed on the pillar, clenching his teeth, and said, This matter, the king of Yinwu County doesn't care. Yun'er, you know, His Highness 7 Princes is the most talented of the 9 kings of the county king. He is loved by the king and has high hopes for him. www.ntlnovel.com With the truth, the entire incident was indeed Lin Chenyu's fault. His Royal Highness 7 was almost killed by Lin Chenyu. Because of this incident, Wang Thunder of Yinwu County was furious. He felt that it was Lin Chenyu who had made a big mistake, and Lin Fei's mother actually wanted to plead for him, which was simply unreasonable. The king of Yinwu County originally loved Lin Fei's mother very much, but after this incident, she became much colder to Lin Fei's mother. Yun'er continued, The grievances of Lin Fei's mother-in-law were not understood by the Lin family. They did not dare to offend the queen and the 7 princes, and imposed all their faults on Lin Fei, Lin's mother. They felt that it was because of Lin Fei and he didn't go to the county king to ask for courtship, which led to the Lin family losing a genius. Since then, the Lin family and Lin Fei's maiden have completely drawn a line and no longer recognize Lin Fei's queen as Lin's family. Zhang Ruochen took a deep breath, and her heart was a bit bitter, and felt unfair to Lin Fei. She squeezed her fists tightly, and punched them on the pillar. She said, Power. In this world, there is no powerful power, you see and get a foothold at all, you see and get a fair treatment at all. Character Fu Anti-Pass Filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry to see the most. New % chapter and section. Easy. Look. Small. Say. God Emperor Chapter 10, 36 Meridian Diagrams. Preventing section passing section LV. The following is a typo according to Pinyin. Baidu equals shrimp equals hey equals yen equals brother equals guan equals candrunk equals Zhang equals Zhang. Ruochen pondered for a moment and asked, Lin Qinyu executed? No. How could His Royal Highness let go of him so easily? Yuner said, Lin Qinyu was sentenced to court and became an eunuch, and His Highness 7 princes were taken as slaves. Zhang Ruochen said, in the first genius of the Lin family, he became and a slave to the enemy. For the Lin family, it was a huge shame. Yuner frowned, saying, but I can't understand it. Since the Lin family has suffered so much humiliation, why should the Lin family's owner still marry his daughter to the 7 princes? This is very easy to understand. With the talent of the 7 princes, he will surely inherit the throne and become the head of the Yunwu county. In the Lin family, if he wants to gain a foothold in the Yunwu county, he will definitely repair the relationship with the 7 princes. Marriage is the best approach. Second, the first genius of the Lin family, since becoming the slave of the 7 princes. The relationship between the Lin family and the 7 princes is not as hostile as we think. Maybe the marriage of Lin Suishan and the 7 princes is the first talent of the Lin family. Qinyu helped. Yuner's eyes were staring at Zhang Ruochen, and he couldn't believe that His Highness 9 princes was able to analyze such a clear head. It was not like the weak boy in the past, but it gave people a sophisticated and intelligent feeling. It seems that after opening the Mark of Shenwu, His Royal Highness has really changed completely. Yun's heart thought to himself, if Madame Lin Fei knew that Her Royal Highness had made such a big change, she would be very happy. Updated next chapter. Back in his room, Zhang Ruochen immediately entered the inner space of the spar of time and space. Start the second meridian now. Zhang Ruochen opened the stopper of the small jade bottle and took a portion of the pulp washing liquid. The blood of the whole body seems to boil under the medicinal effect of the medullary fluid. Relying on the huge medicinal power, Zhang Ruochen immediately opened up the second meridian according to the records in the Jiutianmingdi Jing. The more meridians open up in the body, the faster the Reiki can be absorbed, and the faster the true Qi in the body can run. The more meridians in the body, the more naturally the martial arts cultivated will become stronger. In the same realm, more powerful combat power can erupt. Drawing on his previous practice experience, Zhang Ruochen quickly opened up a second meridian, which doubled the speed of Qi in the body. The gas pool has not expanded and it has not broken through the middle of the yellow pole. It seems that another meridian must be opened up. Zhang Ruochen took the next blood dan and recovered his strength. After resting for an hour or so to achieve his best condition, he immediately took another pill washing fluid and started to develop the third meridian. After other monks have developed a new meridian, they generally need to nurse for 1 to 3 months to increase the tenacity and activity of the meridian before continuing to develop the next meridian. However, after less than a month, Zhang Ruochen would now open up a third meridian to impact the middle stage of the yellow pole. As a result, the difficulty has more than doubled. I can do it. I can do it. Tonight must hit the middle of the yellow pole. Zhang Ruochen held a spirit crystal in his hand, while absorbing the aura in the spirit crystal, while mobilizing all the true energy in his body, he suddenly struck the third pulse. Boom! There was a muffled sound at Zhang Ruochen's brows. Originally, there was only an air pool as large as a basketball, and it was immediately enlarged tenfold to the size of a water tank, like a 3-foot square pool. Now, Zhang Ruochen's gas pool can really be called an air pool. This is the practice in the middle of Huang jigging. Now, it can only be said that it has just entered the middle of the yellow pole, and the vitality in the body has not increased much. Of course, I have room for improvement now. If I cultivate the authenticity in the gas pool, the authenticity in the body will tenfold increase. Zhang Ruochen's heart gave birth to a sense of joy, and Buddhism finally became stronger. Each time you upgrade the realm, the capacity of the gas pool will increase, and naturally it will be able to accommodate more true energy. If you can't break through the realm, then even if you practice for 10 years, there will not be any increase in the vitality in your body. Because your Qi tank is only so big, it can only hold so much Qi. Breaking through to the middle of the yellow pole, the impurities in the flesh are carried out from the pores, like a layer of colored slime, emitting a faint smell. Zhang Ruochen immediately brought a bucket of hot water. After taking a bath, he changed into a new suit and immediately returned to the inner space of the spa. Holding a pen in his hand, it was very smooth and turned into a human figure on the scroll. Later, he relied on the memory in his mind to draw 36 meridians on the human figure, and each meridian's running route was different. There is only one thing in common with the 36 meridians, all of which must converge to the air pool at the center of the eyebrow. For the first time, Zhang Ruochen flipped through the first floor of the Zhou Emperor's scriptures. What he saw was such a meridian diagram, without any textual explanation, to fully enlighten himself. The more advanced the exercises, the more meridians open up in the body, and the faster the qi can be transported. Human skills of subordinates can only open up 7 meridians. In the Zhou Emperor's scripture, there are 36 meridian operation routes. Each time a meridian is added, the body is 1 point stronger. If all 36 meridians are opened up, how will the body powerful? The word polar in Huang Jiging means the meaning of the meridian. The last life of Zhang Ruochen was just to cultivate 33 meridians, and there were 3 meridians, how could they not be developed? With the martial arts of 33 meridians developed by his last life, he has defeated his peers. Even today, the Emperor Qi Yao, the first strongest, is worse than him, only opening 31 meridians. I have now developed 3 meridians, which belong to the middle stage of the yellow polar realm. To break through to the late stage of the yellow polar realm, at least 3 more meridians must be developed. Zhang Ruochen rolled up the meridian map and placed it on the stone platform. If you want to impact the late stage of the yellow pole, you must first cultivate the full of qi in the gas pool. If you practice according to the rules, even if you use Lingjing's aura, you need to cultivate for 1.5 months to fill the whole body with qi and overflow the qi pool. Zhang Ruochen couldn't wait that long, so he decided to take Juki Dan. A Qidan is worth 1,000 silver coins. For ordinary warriors, it is a rare treasure. Even the younger children of the middle family, it is difficult to get a Kikiden. Zhang Ruochen bought 10 at one time, which was intended to quickly improve his cultivation. Jukiden is only the size of a pearl with a faint fragrance. You can see with the naked eye a stream of aura flowing on the surface of the elixir. Zhang Ruochen swallowed qi into his mouth. After a while, with a bang, Juki Dan exploded in his body and turned into a raging dank, jumping up and down in Zhang Ruochen's body. The 3 meridians absorb danqi at the fastest speed. After running for a large week in the body, danqi will be converted into true qi and stored in the gas pool. Although Zhang Ruochen has done his best to absorb danqi, 70% of danqi is still lost from the pores. He just absorbed 30% of the qi of danqi. It took him a full day to fully convert that 30% of his vital energy into his own energy. After refining this 30% of Dan gas, the amount of true gas in the gas pool has tripled. I only developed 3 meridians. The conversion rate of qi is still too slow, and Qiqing's elixir is wasted. If a warrior with a small pole in the yellow pole realm takes Jukiden, he will be able to gather the elixir of Qidan is completely transformed into his own qi, and he will not waste a trace of it. It doesn't matter. As long as you can quickly improve the cultivation, it is worth the waste of more silver coins. With the potency of Jukiden, I will refining 4 more, and I will be able to practice the full energy in the gas pool. Fortunately, Zhang Ruochen now has silver coins, so don't worry about money. Otherwise, each one of Jukiden with 1,000 silver coins will make him distressed. He did not continue to take the second Kikiden, stopped practicing, walked out of the inner space of the spar, and returned to the room. He practiced in the spar of time and space for more than a day, and only half a day passed outside. At this moment, it is noon. Zhang Ruochen did not alarm Yunar and Lin Fei, brought a bucket of hot water, and put it in the room. He is not going to take a bath, but to take a medicated bath. The warrior is not only to cultivate qi, but also to exercise his body. Compared with his peers, Zhang Ruochen's body looks a bit weak. To make the body stronger within a few months, not only need to practice boxing, but also take a bath. Zhang Ruochen bought a total of 5 refining powders www.ntlnovel.com. Each one is worth 1,000 silver coins. Take out one of the mixtures and place it in a wooden barrel. In the wooden barrel, the sound of was immediately issued, and white smoke came out of the wooden barrel. Zhang Ruochen sat in a wooden pail, drowned by a potion on his head. The potion is very hot, just like boiling water, with bubbles coming out. A sharp pain came from the surface of the skin, and then the pain got into the flesh. In the end, that pain went into the bone marrow and the 5 internal organs. Up and down the body, hot pain. If it was another martial artist, it would definitely not be able to endure this pain and would jump out of the barrel. Zhang Ruochen was like a rock. He sat at the bottom of the wooden barrel without any expression change, and silently endured the pain from the body. Only by suffering and suffering can one become a superior. Character anti-pass filter. Please use Chinese characters to enter the ferry and you can watch it, see the most new % chapters and sections. Easy. Look. Small. Say.